this is Mrs. Leffers and Zeus, and I'm reading Romeo and Juliet, Act 5, Scene 3, which is the very last scene in Romeo and Juliet. Zeus is maybe going to help me out here, maybe not. All right, so Scene 3, this is the cemetery that contains the Capulet's tomb. Remember, Juliet is buried here because they think that she has passed away, and all of her family would have been buried in the same place as well. So it says, in the dark of night, Paris comes to the cemetery to put flowers on Juliet's grave. Paris was supposed to marry her. He has no idea that she's married to Romeo or that she's put together this plan to pretend kill herself. So he comes to put flowers on her grave. At the same time, Romeo arrives and Paris hides. Paris assumes that Romeo is going to harm the bodies because he has no idea what's going on with Romeo and Juliet. When Romeo recognizes, let's see here, excuse me. At this point, Paris pops out, he challenges Romeo, and they fight to the death. Romeo kills him. There's a lot of death in Romeo and Juliet. When Romeo recognizes the dead Paris, he lays his body inside the tomb as Paris requested. Romeo declares his love for Juliet, drinks the poison, and dies. Spoiler alert. Shortly after, Friar Lawrence arrives and discovers both bodies. When Juliet wakes up, the friar urges her to leave with him before the guard comes. Juliet refuses, and when the friar leaves, she kills herself with Romeo's dagger. Wow. The guards and the prince arrive, followed by the Capulets and Lord Montague, whose wife has just died of grief because of Romeo's exile. Romeo's mom died because she's sad that he was banished. Will the death never end? Friar Lawrence explains what happened. Capulet and Montague finally end their feud and promise to erect statues honoring Romeo and Juliet. Let me give you one more quick little peek at Zeus, and then I'm going to start reading. Hi. I love Romeo and Juliet. Yes, you're so cute. He's being really nice right now. Sometimes he likes to bark. Okay. All right. Enter Paris and his page with flowers and a torch. His page would be like his servant, so like his Balthazar, basically. Paris, give me thy torch, boy, hence, and stand aloof. Yet put it out, for I would not be seen. Under yond yew tree lay thee all along, holding thine ear close to the hollow ground. So shall no foot upon the churchyard tread, being loose, unfirm, with digging up of graves, but thou shalt hear it. Whistle then to me, as signal that thou hearest something approach. Give me those flowers. Do as I bid thee. Go. So he's having somebody stand guard, just in case somebody else comes while he's putting flowers on the grave. The page aside, so that Paris can't hear it. I am almost afraid to stand alone here in the churchyard, yet I will adventure. They're in a graveyard at night. It's kind of scary. Paris, sweet flower, with flowers thy bridal bed I strew. He strews the tomb with flowers. He surrounds Juliet with flowers. Oh, woe! Thy canopy is dust and stones, which with sweet water nightly I will do, or wanting that, with tears distilled by moans. The obsequies that I for thee will keep nightly shall be to strew thy grave and weep. The page whistles, so that means somebody's there. The boy gives warning something doth approach. What cursed foot wanders this way tonight to cross my obsequies? That's a hard word. And true love's right. What, with a torch? Muffle me, knight, a while. He withdraws, so he kind of hides because he doesn't want anyone to see him. Enter Romeo and Balthazar, his servant, with a torch, a mattock, and a crowbar, a crow of iron. Romeo, give me that mattock and the wrenching iron. Hold, take this letter. Early in the morning, see thou deliver it to my lord and father. Give me the light. Upon thy life I charge thee, whate'er thou hearest or seest, stand all aloof, and do not interrupt me in my course. Why I descend into this bed of death is partly to behold my lady's face, but chiefly to take thence from her dead finger a precious ring, a ring that I must use in dear employment. Therefore hence, be gone. But if thou, jealous, dost return to pry in what I farther shall intend to do, by heaven I will tear thee joint by joint, and strew this hungry churchyard with thy limbs. The time and my intents are savage wild, more fierce and more inexorable far than any empty tigers or the roaring sea. So Romeo tries to make Balthasar believe that Balthasar knows it about the Juliet thing. He's trying to make Balthasar believe that he's in there to take a ring off of Juliet's finger, not to kill himself while he's in there. So he basically says, if you disturb me, I will tear your body limb from limb and hang it all around the churchyard, so leave me alone. Balthasar, I will be gone, sir, and not trouble you. Romeo, so shalt thou show me friendship. Take thou that. Live and be prosperous. And farewell, good fellow. Balthasar, aside, for all the same, I'll hide me hereabout. His looks I fear, and his intents I doubt. So Balthasar is like, I'm not going to go away. I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to wait things out, because something is weird. And I don't believe what Romeo just told me. Romeo, thou detestable maw, thou womb of death, gorged with the dearest morsel of the earth, thus I enforce thy rotten jaws to open, and despite I'll cram thee with more food. Romeo opens the tomb. So he's like struggling with the crowbar, which is like a crowbar that you'd see today, to open the tomb. Paris pops out. This is that banished haughty Montague that murdered my love's cousin, with which grief it is supposed the fair creature died, and here is come to do some villainous shame to the dead bodies. I will apprehend him. Stop thy unhallowed toil, vile Montague. Can vengeance be pursued further than death? Condemned villain, I do apprehend thee. Obey and go with me, for thou must die. So Paris, again, has no idea that Juliet married Romeo behind his back. And everyone believes that the reason that Juliet died was because she was just so overcome with grief for her cousin Tybalt. So both Tybalt and Juliet are in the tomb. And Paris is thinking, what is this guy doing? Is he coming to, like, do bad things to the bodies? What? How horrible. He killed Tybalt. Now what? How much deader could Tybalt get? Stop right there. I'm going to turn you in, Paris says. Romeo, I must indeed, and therefore came I hither. Good gentle youth, tempt not a desperate man. Fly hence and leave me. Think upon these gone, let them affright thee. I beseech thee, youth, put not another sin upon my head by urging me to fury. Oh, be gone. By heaven, I love thee better than myself. For I come hither, armed against myself. Stay not. Be gone. Live, and hereafter say a madman's mercy, bid thee run away. So Romeo knows who he is, right? And he says, he's like, I love you more than I love myself. I come here to do myself harm, not you. Don't make me do bad things to you too. Paris. I do defy thy conjuration and apprehend thee for a felon here. He's like, you're a criminal. I'm taking you in. Romeo, wilt thou provoke me? Then have at thee, boy. They fight. So he's like, fine. They both have their swords. They sword fight. The page, remember, is Paris's servant. The page says, oh, Lord, they fight. I will go call the watch. And he runs off. Paris, I am slain. He falls. If thou be merciful, open the tomb. Lay me with Juliet. He dies. So Shakespeare leaves out a lot of action in the things that he writes about. So the director of this play, if they were putting on Romeo and Juliet, could decide however they wanted to make this fight happen. But in the end of the fight between Paris and Romeo, Romeo stabs Paris somehow and Paris dies. And so as he's dying, Paris is like, oh my gosh, please just like put me next to Juliet. I just wanted to marry her and I loved her. Romeo says, in faith, I will. Let me peruse this face. Mercutio's kinsman, noble County Paris. What said my man when he betossed soul did not attend him as we rode? I think he told me Paris should have married Juliet. So, excuse me, it's at this point that he remembers, this is like, this, apparently Paris is one of Mercutio's family members. So, Mercutio was Romeo's best friend, remember? Tybalt killed Mercutio, and Mercutio was like, a plague on both your houses! And it's just now that Romeo is realizing, oh, this is Mercutio's cousin. Didn't he tell me that Juliet was supposed to be married to him? Oh. This is Romeo still. Said he not so? Or did I dream it so? Or am I mad, hearing him talk of Juliet, to think it was so? Oh, give me thy hand, one writ with me in sour misfortune's book. I'll bury thee in a triumphant grave. A grave? Oh no, a lantern-slaughtered youth, for here lies Juliet, and her beauty makes this vault a feasting presence full of light. Death, lie thou there, by a dead man interred. He lays Paris in the tomb. So he realizes they both love Juliet, and so he's laying Paris next to Juliet. How oft when men are at the point of death have they been merry, which their keepers call a lightning before death. Oh, how may I call this a lightning, O my love, my wife? Death, that hath sucked the honey out of thy breath, hath had no power yet upon thy beauty. Thou art not conquered. Beauty's ensign yet is crimson in thy lips and in thy cheeks, and death's pale flag is not advanced there. Tybalt, liest there in thy bloody sheet. Oh, what more favour can I do to thee than with that hand that cut thy youth in twain, to sunder is that was thine enemy? Forgive me, cousin. Ah, dear Juliet, why art thou yet so fair? Shall I believe that unsubstantial death is amorous, and that the lean, abhorred monsters keeps thee here in the dark to be his paramour? For fear of that I still will stay with thee, and never from this palace of dim light depart again. Here will I remain with worms that are thy chambermaids. Oh, here will I set up my everlasting rest, and shake the yoke of inauspicious stars from this world-wearied flesh. Eyes, look your last. Arms, take your last embrace, and lips. Oh, you, the doors of breath, seal with a righteous kiss, a dateless bargain to engrossing death. Come, bitter conduct. Come, unsavory guide. Thou desperate pilot, now at once run on the dashing rocks, thy seasick, weary bark. Here's to my love. He drinks the poison. Oh, true apothecary, thy drugs are quick. Thus with a kiss I die. So he takes the poison and kisses Juliet's lips, thinking that she's passed away, and he dies, kind of on top of her. Just as this happens, Friar Lawrence walks into the tomb with a lantern, the crowbar, and the spade, a shovel. Friar Lawrence, Saint Francis be my speed! How oft tonight have my old feet stumbled at graves? Who's there? Balthasar, here's one, a friend, and one that knows you well. Friar Lawrence, bliss be upon you. Tell me, good friend, what torch is yond that vainly lends his light to grubs in eyeless skulls? As I discern, it burns